each one of us has a voice to share. We have a choice to make when we open our mouths. Which kinds of words will exit the mouth? Will words of insult, quick rash thoughts, or words of peace come forth? And perhaps Shalom Aleichem, which has its model in Friday night home ceremony, which then comes into the synagogue, becomes a prompt for us every single day to be inclined to open our mouths with words of peace. Shalom Aleichem, agreed in page number 5. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchoni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turning in the prayer book, the Siddur, to page number 11, the opening psalm for the evening service, this evening, Friday evening service, the opening psalm in Hebrew is called or entitled Lechu Neranana. Tonight, the first 3 stanzas in English and then a little bit of Hebrew. It's on page number 11. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests too are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. An element calls out to me. It's that opening phrase. It's an action verb. In order to sing, we have to get up and get moving. We've got to move somewhere. It's not enough just to sing where you've been sitting. You have to activate yourself. That's Lechu Neranana. It's on page 11, a little bit of Hebrew. Lechu Neranana l'Adonai, Nariya letzor yishenu, nekadma fana b'todah, Bizmirot Nariya lo, nekadma fana b'todah, Bizmirot Nariya lo, Ki el gadol Adonai, umelech gadol al kol Elohim, asher beyado mekerei aretz, v'toafot harim lo, asher beyado mekerei aretz, v'toafot harim lo. The early part of the Friday evening service is a collection of psalms. And tonight, I'm turning in a different direction, and we have some handouts for those here in the building. We're turning to a song. It's entitled, I Turn to You, Hebrew from Psalm 121. I Turn to You. This is by a rabbi and cantor named Rabbi Sherwin, and you'll hear her voice in just a moment. And it's a reminder to turn to God, not only in song and prayer, words from the mouth and the breathing, the articulating organs, but also from the heart. I turn to you.
Sometimes I know I can't get very far, no matter how hard I try. Life pulls me away and down paths I don't know. Should I laugh or should I cry? But I look to the west and my mind seems to clear. I understand now what I need to hold dear. I lift my eyes to the mountains, and there I find you. I turn to you. Life's full of struggles of right and of wrong. You've given me the power to choose. Sometimes desire is found in a song. Despite the win, I pay the dues. We're connected by heart, by soul, and by choice. I thank you, Adonai, for the still small voice. I lift my eyes to the mountains, and there I find you. I turn to you. I turn to you in the momentary madness of my being. I turn to you in the opening of childbirth I have seen. I turn to you in my loneliest times. I turn to you and make you mine. Me'ayin Yahavo Ezri, 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 Me'im Adonai. Oseh Shemayim Me'aretz.
Maker of heaven and earth. And on page 16, on the English side, page 16 in the Siddur, a psalm, O God, maker of heaven and earth. Worshippers of idols, be ashamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme, bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. The divine holy name has been handed down to us for over 3,300 years, perhaps longer. It's so holy that if we're not in prayer, we don't say it. We even say the word Hashem, which is kind of a nickname, which means the name. We talk around it because the name of the Holy Creative One is of ultimate sanctity. There's a man, an ancestor, His name was Jacob, and he was greatly afraid, and he ran away. And in the midst of fear and loss and a turbulent sojourn, he called out to God. And one of the phrases he called out is on the song sheet here on the rear table. It's on a composite with a number of different passages on this page, and you see some Hebrew and some English on the table in the rear. We have some song sheets. It's at the bottom of the page, and let's work through this Hebrew with the English provided. It goes as follows. B'Shem Adonai Elohei Yisrael, in the name of the God of Israel, at my right side is the angel Michael. The Hebrew is Mimini Michael, Umismoli Gabriel, Umilfanai Uriel, Umeacharai Raphael, Va'al Roshi Shechinat Ea, which translates, at my right side is the angel Michael, at my left side is the angel Gabriel, in front of me is the angel Uriel, and behind me is the angel Raphael, in Hebrew Raphael, and above my head is God's own sheltering presence, in Hebrew the Shekhinah. This man was afraid. He had an enemy pursuing him from the rear. He was alone in the wilderness, and he had no idea what he was expecting up in front of him. So he was surrounded by fear and confusion and uncertainty. And he summoned God. And he summoned God not only as God, God's self, but he called out, God, place your angels all around me. Angels of power and of light and of hope and of guidance and of support. And come close to me in your own presence, your Shekhinah. Come this close right above me. There are forces of fear and darkness and tumult in our world today. And they seem to be cascading ever more loudly with voices of hate and causing anguish and bringing violence. This is one of my favorite prayers, and I say it every night when I go to sleep at night. I sit on the edge of my bed, I say the Shema, and I say this. And there are occasions when I know certain members of our community are ill or dealing with a certain issue, and I say this prayer surrounding them with angels as well. And tonight, thinking of the ever more explosive crisis in Ukraine, ever more vicious attacks against civilians, I call forth this prayer first initiated by a lonely, frightened man on a journey into an unknowable future, Jacob. So the Hebrew is B'Shem Adonai Elohei Yisrael. The transliteration before you, Mimini Michael, Umismoli Gabriel, Umilfanai Uriel, Umecharai Raphael, Val Roshi Shechinat El. And a reminder, we once years ago had this high school group singing this with us in person, but now it's been many years, they're no longer in high school. And you'll hear the la 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 as well. So even if you don't know the Hebrew, you can sing along with la la la, and you can know that your singing of la la is summoning angels to your own side and to the side of someone else whom you have in your own heart. B'Shem Hashem.
Nai 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 nai. Nai 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 nai
On page 23, in the Siddur, L'chadodi is a song welcoming Shabbat herself. Shabbat is pictured in the poetry as a queen. Imagine a queen's joining you in your home, a queen's joining you right here in our community. A queen doesn't just show up somewhere. A queen's only going to go someplace where there are honored dignitaries, aristocrats, nobility, which means that we're the aristocrats. We're the nobles. Each one of us is elevated to the stature of aristocracy. L'chadodi, page 23, the first two stanzas, page 25, the last two stanzas. L'chadodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmeyanu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shem tiferet v'litila. L'chadodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machashavah techila. L'chadodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Yamin, yamin usmol, tifrotzi, ve'et Adonai taritzi, al yad ish Ben partsi vanis mecha v'nagila lecha dodi likrot kala penei Shabbat nikabela Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'v'tzala Toch emunei am segula Boi chala lecha dodi likrot kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. As recited, the Psalm for Shabbat herself, a psalm in honor of Shabbat, in the English on pages 27 and 28. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Look at the next to last stanza, which we just recited and worshiped and prayed. The righteous flourish like the date palm. That's us. Each one of us, from the point of view of the Siddur, is a righteous person. And the righteous people are thriving like a cedar of Lebanon, a beautiful, majestic tree. And the righteous, each one of us, is planted in the house of God. Each one of us is part of God's courtyard. You and I are as essential to God's courtyards as soil is to the earth itself. You and I contribute to God's own reality. That's what the Psalm for Shabbat is teaching. So when you and I stop and pause and take hold of who we are as a component of creation, how we can breathe beauty, how we can breathe care and justice into the world, we're reminded that we contribute to the world on a spiritual level. And that's why I've chosen this next piece. If you look at a song sheet, it's Craig Taubman's song, Holy Ground. We are imbuing the world with holiness. The next song sheet, Craig Taubman's Holy Ground.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way, where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you praise, all of life is holy ground. Every he, every she, every what, every who, it's in her, it's in them, it's in me, it's in you. In the bitter, in the sweet, in the calm, in the storm. All of of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground. When you hurt, when you heal, when you laugh, when you pray, when you hold, when you keep, when you give it away. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day. All of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. We take our shoes off, we're on holy ground. We are one people, one story, one tapestry we weave, one journey, one glory, one legacy we leave. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day. Everything, everyone, every place, every way. Where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you praise. All of life is holy ground. Can you feel the holy ground? Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground.
Turning back to the Siddur, page 39a, we rise, the Borchu, a greeting, a calling out to God, but also, because of the way the word Borchu is constructed, a reminder that we're part of a community. And we have people here in our building, and we have members of the community, our shul community and beyond, joining us online. We know members of our community are online, and we welcome also the Conservative Synagogue of Montgomery. Agudath Israel Eitz Chaim is joining us tonight and tomorrow. When people join together in the building and virtually, we become stronger than we were before we walked into this place. Borchu, page 39a. Baruch hu et Adonai Amavorach. Baruch Adonai Amavorach le'olam va'ed. We are seated. The first bracha in the English, page 39a. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El Chai v'Kayom, Tamidim Lo Chalen Olam V'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 40, the English side. With timeless love, you have loved your people, the house of Israel. You have taught us Torah and mitzvot, statutes and laws. Therefore, Adonai our God, as we lie down and as we rise up, we shall speak of your laws, rejoicing in the words of your Torah and your mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the fullness of our days, and on them we shall meditate day and night. Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch Atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. V'avotecha al tasir mimenu l'olamim. Baruch Atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 41, Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'aderech, u'v'shachbecha v'kumecha, u'geshartam la'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Moment of thought, private thought, on page 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. This little section of the service is focused on the love of God for the people of Israel. And so turning to the song sheet that has lots of Hebrew and English mixed together, in the center of that song sheet, it's the song sheet that has the phrase, love your God. It's in the center. It's just above the B'Shem Hashem passage, which we sang earlier. In a moment, this piece, Love Your God, a reminder from Craig Taubman, love your God.
with all your soul. Love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. Where you live, where you lie, where you stumble, where you thrive, with all you speak, with all you know, with all your soul. Be like God, one like God, in love and life. Be like God, love like God, with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul. When you seek, when you soar, when you breathe and breathe no more, love your God, be with God, go with God. Be with God, one like God. Go with God.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. On page 44 in the Siddur. Page 44. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lecha anu shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam mi chamocha po'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lot osei fele malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokeh yam lifnei Moshe zeli anu v'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kif Adonai Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. In a moment, prior to the offering of the Hashkavenu on page 45, we offer a prayer for Ukraine. And those in the synagogue this evening have this prayer for Ukraine, which first began to be shared, you might say, with conservative and Masorti synagogues when Russia brutally opened this war, this aggression against a much smaller nation, outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned, with reprehensible atrocities. And this prayer has been offered in Hebrew and English and European languages throughout the affiliated conservative and Masorti movements across the entire face of Europe, all of the Americas, and Israel. We pray. God in heaven, creator of all flesh, worker of wonders, do not stay silent, do not remain voiceless, do not keep aloof. For an evil man has come to power and declared war on another country, saying, "We will rise up violently against you in battle." But you, God, have commanded us in your sacred scriptures, saying, "Do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. I am God." Therefore, make the aggressor desist from destruction. We pray to you now, God of the spirits of all flesh, to use your infinite power to end these acts of bloodshed and terror. Spread peace across the earth and bring joy to all its inhabitants, so that the words of the prophets can be fulfilled. The warrior's bow will be broken, and peace will be promised to all peoples. God will judge between the nations and arbitrate between many countries. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And let us say, Amen. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Amen. The top of page 46. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam b'nei u'ben b'nei Yisrael oti li'olam oti li'olam oti li'olam v'shamro V'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, v'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbav, Kaveh b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala, uv'ezman kariv, v'imero, amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevarach, Olam li'olmei olmaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'terman v'yinaseh v'yidhadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu leila mikabachata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'meru. Amen. We rise now with a silent prayer. The traditional text, pages 47 to 52. An opportunity for private reflection. You might consider the traditional text here, or you might take a moment and offer a silent prayer of your own devising, considering family members, loved ones, strangers. What role can your prayer have in this world this week for someone you know and for someone you don't know? It seems that every day as we turn on the television news or glance at our smartphone, that there's ever more violence and bloodshed, hostility, and aggression. And if only we could miraculously make it all just go away. And that sentiment of if only we could miraculously rid the world of violence and have justice and peace has been around as long as recorded history. And I'm speaking from a Jewish heart. And my mind is turning to 3 different Jewish ancestors this night. One is named Isaiah. And we all know Isaiah. And Isaiah is facing a crisis, a war impending upon, approaching Israel. And Isaiah says, if only there could be universal peace, peace so comprehensive that a wolf would lie down with the lamb and the lamb would not be afraid, and a child could play over a den of snakes. Parentheses, wouldn't that be amazing and grand? Gosh, we need that. Oh God, please. Someday it's going to happen, but it didn't happen in the time of Isaiah. But imagine what it means to conceptualize that a wolf is going to be more interested in laying down and eating straw than chomping on the lamb right next to it, or that a child is confident playing with a poisonous snake. It's a transformative experience. God, you need to be this close to upend every element of nature itself. That's what we need, oh God. And Micah is a man, and you know Micah because he's a contemporary, a little bit older than Isaiah. And Micah and Isaiah share very famous phrases. Beat swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. Who has a sword and who has a spear? Soldiers and warriors. Who has a plowshare? Who has a pruning hook? Farmers and gardeners and growers. What Micah is really saying is, God, let it be the case that professional warriors give up their expertise in violence and develop an entirely new skill set to bring growth and life and sustenance and nutrition up out of rock and soil. Let that be your miracle, oh God. And it's such a fantastic message that Isaiah echoes it, but we think Micah said it first. So we're looking at these 2 people nearly side by side, slightly different time periods, slightly different locations in Israel, and one is saying, let the world be transformed. Animals and people will live in cooperation and peace, no more threat. And the other is, let's transform society itself from an element of society bent upon chaos and violence into a nutritive and agrarian society, feeding everyone. And then we jump through history and we come to Malachi. And he's on my mind because we read him tomorrow. And we're supposed to read him tomorrow because tomorrow is the Saturday morning, the Shabbat morning before Passover. And Malachi also has a prophetic message to share. Malachi is at the very end of prophecy. He's 400 years after Isaiah and Micah. He's our last Jewish prophet. As we say in Mobile, ain't no more Jewish prophets after Malachi. He is the last word on prophecy. And he too has a message of transforming the world. But he doesn't talk about animals and people changing their natures. He doesn't talk about a society wherein there is a warrior class that's going to become miraculously agrarian. Instead, Malachi says tomorrow morning, in advance of Passover, he says, oh God, let it be that Elijah comes. And now you know why we read this passage tomorrow, because next week we're thinking about Elijah coming on Passover night. He says, God, let it be Elijah comes, and Elijah will help parents change the hearts of their own attitudes towards children, and children's hearts will be changed towards their parents. In other words, for Malachi, we need to change how parents and children interact with one another. And he doesn't specify ages. It could be a 30-year-old parent with a toddler. It could be a 60-year-old parent with an adult child, perhaps making his or her way in the world. It could be a 90-year-old parent of a 60-year-old who's a grandmother in her own right. There's no age limit, no age constraint in the prophecy that we read tomorrow to get ready for Elijah. What we're supposed to envision by reading this passage tomorrow is that next week when we open the door and Elijah comes in the door to the Seder family gathering, that parents and children will be turning their hearts to each other. Think about parents and children. Think about families. The family is the smallest specific unit of society. The entire society that we have, whether it's American or North American or global, will be broken down to each of its own components. One family, one household, one household, one household. Malachi is not saying, let's miraculously turn animals who are predators into vegetarian. Nor is he saying, let's turn professional warriors into farmers. He's saying, God, we need your miraculous touch so that this household learns how to reconcile internally unto its own needs. And this household needs to reconcile unto its own needs. And this household needs to overcome its own crisis. And this household needs to address its own inner conflict. And this family, an adult parent and an adult child who don't get along, they need Elijah's touch so that his heart is turned to this one. Malachi is not asking for miracles that are going to transform wolves into vegetarians. Malachi is asking for help in your and my daily experience, because every family experiences conflict, challenge, and even strife. What better touch could there be on the near anniversary of crossing the Sea of Reeds and to have God's courageous touch upon you and me so that I learn better to deal with the needs within my own family, and so too yours. The Hebrew is veheshiv levavot. Let the heart of a parent turn to a child. Let the heart of a child turn to a parent. And when you and I manage halavai with God's blessing and encouragement to change how we interact from each one, each heart to the other, parent to child, adult to youth, just imagine what might happen by next Passover. May you and I be blessed to take hold of the realistic miracle that's called for by Malachi in this week's Haftorah prophetic passage. May you and I stand next to Malachi and bring that vision of messianic redemption into reality, each one of us, with their own power to transform the world. And just think, your family will be contributing to this family's, to this family's, to that household's, and to that household's messianic growth as well. May we be so blessed. And we all say, Amen. We rise the Aleinu on page number 56 in the Siddur, page 56. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kgoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegoraleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו וזולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבת אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. And those offering the memorial prayer are invited to remain standing at this time. In a moment, the Mourner's Kaddish found on page number 58. And on this Shabbat, we remember with great love Elizabeth Grishman, Leland Manuel Reiner, Roseanne Rips, Fanny Berman, Selma Sokoloff, Dina Barr, Doris Claire Stein, Sarah Mishkin, Dina Rachel Olensky, Bracha Weinstein, Esther Silver, Mayor Perloff, Esther Rubenstein, Martin Reddish, Martha Maisel, Rebecca Maisel, Gertrude Berry Golden, remembering Kay Podem, Madeline Fass. Are there any other names to mention this evening? And perhaps those at home have a name to share as well. Kaddish is on page number 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'olma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chaye chon v'yomei chon v'b'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen Yehei shmei Rabbah nevarach la'olam ololmei olmaya Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha, b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'olma, v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We remember that the mourner's prayer does not mention sickness, does not utter disease, does not talk about loss or sorrow or death. The mourner's prayer speaks of hope and faith and world peace. And you might ask, why is this the mourner's prayer? And the answer is because it's tradition. For 1,800 years, maybe longer, mourners have said this prayer, and they do the bulk of the talking, and everybody else listens. And then at the right time, people say Amen, which means I'm listening to you. The mourners do the bulk of the talking. Those who are grieving do the bulk of the talking. And we're quiet. We're supposed to listen to them talk. That's an object lesson. Listen to people who are grieving, let them talk. And at the right time, maybe only say one word. And that became part of our prayer. It's become institutionalized. But it's still a message for us to let those who are in grief, whatever they need to say, share it in public. At the right time, know the right time, and give them one little greeting. And may those who are grieving and mourning know that we're listening. We'll conclude in just a few minutes. We have a concluding song on the song sheet, and as those in our building are gathering up the song sheets, Never Walk Alone. Just a couple of reminders about the rest of the schedule. Of course, tomorrow, Shabbat morning, we have a special service tomorrow on Zoom, which is going out into YouTube. And those who normally join in on YouTube will see it on YouTube. And those who choose to come into the building will hear it on the audio channel. Toria Stark is an incredibly talented vocalist, and she's studying to be a cantor. And she's been joining us now for a couple of years on Zoom Havdalah. And she's joining in audio. She's joining us from Auburn. But through the magic of the international cybersphere out there, those cables and those wires and those magical elements that Dave will help navigate for us. She has a gorgeous voice, and she's here to join in to sing and to chant with us. So that's tomorrow morning, normal time, 10 o'clock. And just log in. If you're logging in, type Ahavas Chesed Synagogue, Mobile, Alabama, YouTube into your Google search bar. It'll bring you right to us tomorrow morning. If you're coming into the building, you'll hear her. And also we'll be having our simultaneous service here in person. So that's tomorrow morning. Havdalah is at 7:30 tomorrow night. Next week, which is Pesach, no Havdalah. The following week, which Havdalah becomes 8 o'clock. You'll be hearing about that again. So Pesach is approaching. Monday, of course, is Tanakh. Tuesday is Adult Hebrew and Spirit, both on Zoom. Next Friday, Fast of the Firstborn, that's April 15th, is going to be on Zoom, and the information has gone out. It will go out again. Next Friday, a week from tonight, no in-person service, no service, actually, because we're supposed to be sitting down at a table for Seder. So that's next Friday. Next Saturday, I want to make sure I don't mess this up. Next Saturday, April 17th, is going to be YouTube, and Sunday and morning, days of Yom Tov, also on YouTube. But Sundays and Monday, it's going to be only on YouTube, and it's not going to be, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, because Saturday is after the first Seder, and we're going to be all sleepy. So Saturday morning and Sunday morning next week are going to be only on YouTube, not in person. That's the day after, first Seder, day after second Seder, so it's going to be YouTube. And again, Friday is Fast of the Firstborn study session. So that's it. It's in the bulletin, it's in the email, and we'll go out again and again, reminders. So now we'll turn to the concluding song, Never Walk Alone, and it's my prayer that we realize that as we walk out into life on this Shabbat,
never walk the road alone. May we always be sheltered in peace. Walking hand in hand, side by side, soul by soul, may we someday all come to know. May the waves of health and joy reach the hearts of each girl and boy, from now through forever. Now through forever. May we see the path that God has given us, and may we always be happy and free. Every step you take it safely, and in every stride, find joy and pride. May we never walk the road alone, and may we always be sheltered in peace. Adonai oz le'amo yiteh. Adonai oz le'amo yiteh. Adonai oz le'amo yiteh. May we never walk the road alone. May we always be sheltered in peace.
In our rice for Kiddush, we have wine and bread at the rear of the sanctuary, and perhaps you're joining in for Kiddush and Amotzi at home. Kiddush is on page 55. I hope you have a glass of wine and a piece of bread ready for Kiddush and Amotzi. Hagofen on page 55. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam borei peri hagofen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki avanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shavat kodshecha b'ahava v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. And perhaps you at home have a piece of bread. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher k'shem v'mizrach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Thank you for joining us. Shabbat Shalom. Happy almost Pesach. Remember, we start getting rid of our breadstuffs in the next few days. And of course, Friday evening is next Seder. So as I said, no services Friday evening because we should be at our Seder table. And you'll check the bulletin and the emails for the upcoming schedules for services. Until we see each other again, hopefully in person, Lehitrod, may God bless you.